This is Relitza, and welcome back to Real Astronomy News 201. For our next story, we look at the devastating collapse of the Arecibo Telescope in Puerto Rico. I'll now pass it on to my colleague Gracie for more information.
Thank you, Relitza. And so here we first have an image of the aftermath of the collapse of the Arecibo Telescope, where the destroyed instruments as well as the damage to the dish can be seen. So it is said that back in November and August of 2020, two of the cables that were supporting the 900 metric ton platform of scientific instruments held above Arecibo's dish unexpectedly broke. After the damages were assessed, it was announced by the NSF, the National Science Foundation, which funds Arecibo, that the telescope was to be torn down and could not be safely repaired. But on December 1st of 2020, before the telescope could be torn down, the entire platform containing the instruments crashed down on the dish. Thankfully, no one was injured, but nearby buildings, including the visitor center and the control room, survived the crash, while an educational center was substantially damaged from falling cables and platforms. Prior to the crash, engineers were said to be exploring options to attempt to relieve some of the tension built up in the cables, but it was not yet decided by the NSF if those plans were to move forward when the platform fully collapsed. So here we have another image of the collapse with a closer look at the actual damages to the dish and to the telescope. This is a devastating loss for Puerto Rico, as it was a historic and cultural icon, as well as a prolific research facility. Arecibo was very unique on account of its massive size at 305 meters across, covering 20 acres. The enormous dish allowed a huge collection of radio waves, and Arecibo could transmit these waves, as well as see very faint objects and phenomena. The Arecibo Observatory was originally an idea by Professor William Gordon of Cornell University. He was interested in the study of the ionosphere, and his research in the 50s led to the idea of radar backscatter studies. This idea then culminated into the construction of the Arecibo Telescope, which first began in the summer of 1960, with the 305-meter dish later being constructed in 1963. The Arecibo facility was the site of many key astronomical discoveries over the years, making a huge impact on the astronomy community. Some of Arecibo's greatest achievements include observations of pulsars, these spinning stars, and indirect observations of gravitational waves, which won the 1993 Nobel Prize in Physics. For decades, Arecibo has been used in the exploration for extraterrestrial intelligence, and in November 1974, Arecibo was also the site for the first broadcasted radio message intended for an alien audience. Astronomers were using the telescope for numerous scientific studies before the collapse, including assessments of near-Earth asteroids and their threat to the planet. Arecibo also found that Mercury spins on its axis once every 59 days rather than the previous thought of 88 days, and this was founded in 1965. Mercury seemed like it was an unlikely place to find ice, but Arecibo discovered that there was actually ice inside of some of the craters there. Arecibo was also able to form a sort of map of Venus. Venus is shrouded in a thick layer of clouds, but Arecibo's radar beams could cut right through the haze and bounce off of the rocky planet's surface, allowing researchers to map the terrain. Over the years, Arecibo has had many great achievements that have impacted the overall field of astronomy, and past research will continue to aid in the future studies and achievements. Thank you for joining me today on this week's episode of Real Astronomy News 201. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time with exciting astronomy news.